Hi, I'm Doug Keating, and this is All the Way Leadership, a company designed with one purpose in mind, and that is to help make you a better leader. Today, I'm going to talk about the importance of having a good strategy. Let's go. Last week, I talked about the fact that leaders are under pressure to deliver results. Higher performance is expected, as it should be. The pressure can be tremendous, especially if you work for a publicly traded company that has to deliver quarterly results to its shareholders. Many startup companies face a similar situation. Their investors want to see a return on their money. Owners, leaders, and employees are under pressure to make it happen quickly. With the current COVID crisis, there's even more pressure on leaders to deliver results. Having a good strategy is more important than ever. A good strategy could mean that your company survives. A bad strategy may mean that your company is wiped off the face of the earth, never to be heard of again. Talk about pressure. When leaders obsess on short-term results, they tend to miss the big picture. This approach drives what I would describe as tactical tunnel vision versus maintaining a long-term focus. It is not uncommon to watch leaders deliver tactical results despite the fact they do not have a real long-term strategy. Everyone's in a hurry to get somewhere fast, but the destination they are running towards, it is unknown. The question you need to ask yourself as a leader, is your team on the road to nowhere? It's analogous to getting a car and starting to drive without any idea of where you are going. There's nothing wrong with pushing hard to get short-term results, as long as it feeds a long-term strategy that moves the organization forward towards a clearly articulated vision. One without the other can be dangerous and may backfire. Let's take a look at a relevant example. Time for a confession. I do not like grocery shopping. It is boring. Big store, too many choices, and the same items on the exact same shelves every time you visit. It's rare that I'm excited to go to the grocery store. That's even more true with the COVID crisis. I do, however, consider it a necessary evil. I doubt I am alone in this dislike of grocery shopping. But all of us have to eat, and the grocery store is the only affordable option. Eating out all the time gets expensive, and a lot of places are closed, so you don't even have that option nowadays. Over the past few years, several companies created an innovative solution for people like me. They deliver food to your front door. Awesome. These companies send the ingredients and recipes you need for a few meals a week. The amount delivered is measured so you don't have to deal with a lot of leftovers. Great idea. A few years ago, I decided to give several of these services a try to see if they were worth it. My plan was simple. I would try several different companies to see who was numero uno, the best. I learned a lot during this experiment. As many of you already know, or perhaps you learned during the COVID crisis, there are several companies to pick from when it comes to home meal delivery. Blue Apron, HelloFresh, Plated Home Chef, Sunbasket, as well as several major grocery chains, to name a few. I actually tried several of these for a few weeks at a time. All of them were decent, but I ran into issues with every single one of them. I could tell right away that they were focused mainly on delivering tactical results, and that was increasing the number of customers. Get people to join. That was the goal. They lacked a good long-term strategy. I noticed that all of them were offering discount pricing to get customers to subscribe, but then they would jack up the price as soon as possible. They were kind enough to send me coupons in order to have me encourage my friends to join. The same thing happened to my friends as well. Jack up the price as quick as possible. It is worth noting, since COVID, some of the major grocery chains have entered this market, and they're actually doing a pretty bang-up job with this business. A fundamental you learn in business school: it's hard to compete on price alone. It became obvious to me there were problems with the pricing models for most of these companies. If your company has to use discount pricing all the time to attract customers, you are creating a commodity market. the lowest price wins. This pricing approach will attract other commodity companies into the market, like Amazon and Walmart. And when they do, we all know how the story ends. Not well for the little guy. Amazon and Walmart have both put tons of companies out of business by outpricing them. They can go lower than any other company because of their scale. How low can they go? Lower than others. The second thing I noticed is that their customer service model was not well designed. It was super easy to sign up for the service. The online sales funnel was optimized. The problem started to surface after I became a customer. It was a challenge to modify frequencies of delivery, to delay delivery, and really difficult, really difficult to stop the service. The website hit the section that described how to stop the service. You had to search hard to find the details. In fact, more than one of them would force you to call to cancel your subscription. You could not cancel online. That's really weird for an online company. Let me get this straight. I can join in a jiffy online, but I have to call your company and wait on the helpline to quit. No, thank you. Not a good customer retention model. It started to feel like I was staying at Hotel California, where you can check out, but you can never leave. The third problem was that the quality for several of them simply wasn't there. They were struggling to keep pace with the demand they were creating. The food delivered wasn't bad, but it was not worth the price that they were demanding. In the end, I decided that none of them were great. I will note here that since COVID has hit, several companies have figured out a great way to deliver quality food to your doorstep. So kudos to the ones that have cracked the code on how to get this done. That wasn't the case when I originally wrote this post. Probably the biggest misstep in the meal kit delivery market was made by a company called Blue Apron. They were in a hurry to get Wall Street investors behind their company. Their leadership decided to pay attention to Wall Street rather than optimize their supply chain operations. They were not ready for prime time. Instead, they focused on increasing their customer base so they could make a splash when they conducted their IPO. Here's a quote from a Richmond newspaper at the time that explains the problem. Blue Apron's IPO was going to be a moment to celebrate, validation for the mushrooming food delivery industry. Behind the scenes, however, all was not well. A new fulfillment center was months behind schedule and still wasn't ready for prime time, 6 weeks before the IPO. If your company's in the delivery business, then one would think that your leadership would be laser focused on making sure its core process is functioning well. Blue Apron completed their IPO to some fanfare. The company's stock price and its investors have suffered since then. Google their stock chart, it is not a pretty picture. I guess that throwing money at a problem didn't solve it. Rather, it exposed the weak link in their supply chain. Time will tell if Blue Apron ever recovers from this misstep. Even with the COVID crisis, they still have struggled. And oh, by the way, since Blue Apron went public, both Amazon and Walmart and several other major grocery chains have entered this market. The sharks are in the water. I sure hope the Blue Apron leadership team knows how to outswim the sharks. Usually I'm an optimist. In this case, I doubt they will survive. Let's face it, Amazon has cracked the code on how to deliver to everybody's front door. What's the key takeaway? Effective leaders play the long game. They have a good strategy. They understand that a long-term strategy is vital to success. Also, real leaders avoid shortcuts. If you choose to shortcut this process, then you may pay the price like the example I provided. Be a better leader. Take the path less chosen. If you look at some of the most successful companies in the world today, they have a long-term focus. Market leaders like Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft took decades to build. All three were or are headed by leaders who delivered great results year after year after year after year. Nowadays, they are dominant players. That did not happen overnight. Make sure as a leader that you don't get so focused on the here and now and get tactical tunnel vision that you miss the big picture and that you have a long-term strategy. Given the current crisis right now, you better have a good strategy. It may mean the difference between surviving and not surviving in the current environment. All the Way leadership is designed with one purpose in mind, and that is to help make you a better leader. I hope you join me on this journey to raise up the next generation of leaders. The world is in desperate need of more great leaders, women and men who lead with confidence, clarity, and creativity. It's time to become the leader that your world needs. Let's go all the way.